Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with Ron Newcomb. He's an organizer, moderator for the VIP Film Summit, and that's one of the first ways I connected with him. He's a director, writer, actor, and producer of the Forge Studios. He's written and directed many award-winning short and feature-length films, and I was like, hey, that's the place that I've been struggling and been passionate about for the past many years. How can I get a behind the scenes of what it takes to have a short film that's been produced and out there and how to connect with people? And I figured Ron is the perfect candidate to talk about that. So Ron, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. I feel like there's a lot of good synergy for sure. And a lot of people, I'm hopeful, can resonate with this because we all have that, many of us have that entrepreneurial spirit and the biggest business acumen, as well as that creative element people like to tap into.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And being on the side of the camera where you shoot, I've had some opportunities where I got to be on a set where it's a indie film and there's a crew of small people and we're out in the cold in early day in Colorado and it snows coming down and I'm shooting behind the scenes and I'm like, wow, this is a ton of fun. You're fighting the elements, but then you're also capturing some really good shots for what the director has in mind or what the story has in mind.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's that collaborative creative medium. And a lot of times those beauty shots, the aesthetics, it does take, the certain right alignment of things to come together to be able to really kind of capture it in the lens.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little version of your story, since my audience this is the first time they get to hear from you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the film industry, what inspired you, and where did this all get started?
Yeah, so I kind of came way of an actor. So back when I first started out, there wasn't any digital opportunity. And so I started out as an actor, really grew up as a jock in my younger years. But when I went to college, they didn't have any sports or anything. And so I had always desired to do some acting. And I had done a very little bit when I was really young and decided to audition for a play. And I was cast, and that just solidified the bug in me. So as a result of that, I ended up doing a bunch of auditions, getting cast in some things. And I picked up a local agent in the DC market, which is where I'm at. We call it the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. It's just not a huge, and particularly then was not a big film or acting area. We had certainly some theaters for stage performance, but nothing really on screen. But then the digital age came and that kind of changed all that. And so I went in the Marine Corps when I was younger, got out and moved to LA for a very short time in around 1994 to 95. And most people probably don't remember, but there was a minor recession back then. It was just very difficult to get a job. So I ended up coming back home shortly thereafter, and I became a police officer. And I thought, well, that's my acting days are over, and that's kind of behind me. But I ended up meeting a friend of mine on the police department who is a fellow officer, a guy named Jim Clock. And you can look him up on IMDb. He's done several film projects now, but he too had the acting bug. And him and I did a project to get together. He was definitely the lead point person on it. And it was an indie feature, very indie, around the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed me, though, what could be done, what was possible in the digital age. And I thought, man, this could actually be something. And so as a result of that experience, I started to pursue to see if this is something I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2006, I was hired on to be a director of a feature, attended this screenwriting program that was very stringent. It was an 6 to 8 week course called Act One. It was very intensive in screenwriting and television writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then just started to self-teach myself. But I tried to get on to other sets, and there just wasn't a lot going on. So by proxy, my love for the industry and to do acting, I found a love of directing.
Mm-hmm.
And I produce as a byproduct of wanting to keep projects going. And so I ended up co-writing and producing and directing my first feature film called Rise of the Fellowship. And that was kind of getting like an MBA in filmmaking. We ended up getting domestic distribution. We sold in 19 countries, translated, I want to say 13 languages.
Wow.
We sold units to Walmart. It was on Netflix, and the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And it made enough money to just get me addicted. So for 6 years, I did filmmaking full time.
Wow.
And just always I'm trying to, enhance the craft and to add value to different projects. And so people do in the area, the word's kind of gone out, people do come to me and with thoughts, comments, questions, or just help trying to get stuff done. Because although it's gotten less expensive because the gear has gotten less expensive,
mm-hmm.
and consumership is an all-time high, there's also just a mass volume of content being created. And so how can you get seen or heard through just all the noise? And so that's another, thing that one must consider in trying to tell a story and then get it out there.
Absolutely. That's quite a story. That's quite a journey, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're not done yet because, selfishly, I wanted to meet certain people in the industry. I just felt like I wasn't getting to the decision makers. A lot of us indie filmmakers talk about getting shows on the indie friendly platforms called the streamers, which is, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. But although they're disruptors in distribution, the way they take on content is very traditional. And so one must have an inroad in there. And regardless of what people think about Hollywood and LA specifically, that is where the major decisions are still being made at that executive level. And so I set out to try to get connected. I started out with the hypothesis of how could I level up and take this, like your show, hack this hobby of mine. It was more than a hobby. It was a passion, it was a calling, and I wanted to be able to try to hack the system. And so there's 4 prominent ways. You're either going to find the right producing partner, and we know that in the entrepreneurial world as a joint venture, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get a manager or an agent. You're going to get an executive to believe in you, or you're going to find an investor to invest in your projects, and you're just going to go make it. So I put together this thing, as you indicated, where you and I first met, this event called the VIP Film and TV Summit with that hypothesis in mind. And I flew out 20 VIPs, and we would do an hour-long seminar talking about those topics with those specific panelists, and then 10 filmmakers per panel would get up and pitch these people with the desire to get projects going. I knew that in my area, I wasn't going to be able to do filmmaking full time unless not only could my project be greenlit, but so could yours, and so could your listeners. Because the more projects we have, the more opportunity there is, and that can create what I call sustainable filmmaking. And that's the goal. It's not where one person gets rich. It's where we can all do this in a full-time capacity and
Yeah.
not have to, I have a master's, I have a wife, I have 4 girls and another
Hmm.
little one on the way. I have a house, I have 2 cars, and I
Yeah.
only bring that up because we live in the real world. There's real world expenses.
Exactly.
And, the arts in particular, and although filmmaking is a business, it is labeled as one of the arts. It doesn't get kind of its fair due and what people think you're willing, people, the expectation of what it costs.
Yeah.
Also, part of the problem is when the digital age came in and stuff got cheaper, everybody and their brother and their nephew and a high school student that's teaching classes, which is
Hmm.
great, but
Yeah.
it gave this false expectation that this 17-year-old kid can get out with a camera and film something. And although some may be able to do some great things,
Hmm.
there's still some aesthetics and art form that needs to be built. Those 10,000 hours of mastery can't just be leapfrogged and
No way.
bypassed.
No
So,
way. No, that's absolutely right. You know, um, in the entrepreneur world and in the social media marketing world, we talk about this. Sure, your teenage nephew might be a social media expert, but when it comes down to creating ads and creating revenue and bringing people into your business, yeah, you can't expect that from a 17-year-old spending all day on social media.
yeah, right. They're great consumers. They know how
Yes.
to do certain hacks, but when you're trying to run it as a business,
Hmm.
we all know the saying's true. You're going to get what you pay for.
Exactly. Exactly. That's beautiful, man. And the more I delve into this film production arena, it's the more my eyes are open, and I see, wow, there's a whole lot of process involved. There's so many people involved in creating anything, be it a short commercial to a short film to a feature length film, and we'll see hundreds and hundreds of names on the back of the movie. Like when the movie's over, there's thousands of names scrolling by, and these are people that were essential to creating the product that you just consumed.
Yeah, what I love about film is that it is an art form, but it's one of the few art forms where it's taking several artists,
Mm-hmm.
musicians, sculptors, painters, CGI artists, all these different artists, and coming together under one um, specific piece of art.
Yeah.
However, I would like to note that it what I find fascinating and the reason I really want to highlight the role of the producer is the one that greenlights the projects and gets a project going. And without
Mm-hmm.
the producer, all these other people get nothing.
Yeah.
So it's that one person or few people that champion a project, and as a result of it, it creates all these jobs. Each film is like a small little individual LLC, a little
Yeah.
company, and it has its own breath within that company that I find truly fascinating. But it can be addicting as well. I
Yeah.
love it. And I just, if you're out there listening and you're wondering if this is something for you, I encourage you to explore what the role of producer is.
Yeah.
That's probably the entrepreneurial spirit that you want. And then there's producers even have some say over the aesthetics, et cetera. So that'd be the role I encourage people to look at.
No, absolutely. Producer are super important, and for the longest time, I didn't know till I attended the VIP Film TV Summit, and I learned from Tom Malloy about being a producer and what it means. And from the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm going to be behind the camera and be running the camera and technology, and I had no idea about lighting. I had no idea about sound, but I was like, oh, you got this camera, you can do all of these things. But no, so many things go into it. And then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, connecting the people who have the talents, who can do the thing, is as important as the idea itself.
Oh,
And
100%. I mean, that is, And you are exactly right. You are describing the role of the producer. Everyone thinks the director has all the power. And although creatively, the producer has brought them on to execute their creative vision, the reality is the producer is the one in charge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They bring the big bucks. They bring all the people together to be like, all right, this is what we're shooting. This is the project. This is the timeline. Let's get this done. Where do we need to go? And then we involve people like scout agents and God, I don't even know half the terms that go into this, but it's a area that I am exploring more and more every day.
Yeah, no, I encourage you to. And if film interests you, particularly not just as a hobby, but as you start to drive into, is this a potential business opportunity? I would encourage you to look at that. Another podcast to check out would be The Producer's Guy by a guy named Todd Garner. They just wrapped up, but it literally was in the last couple of weeks, and he's got a ton of episodes where he goes out and interviews true, legitimate working producers in the industry. And if you're interested in this, something that's starting to create an itch in you, I would encourage you to go listen to The Producer's Guide by Todd Garner.
Todd Garner. Perfect. I will check it out. What I have been doing in the past 3 to 6 years is getting more connected more to the film industry, connecting more to the actors, the producers, the directors, and how they unveil and how they go about producing a film. And luckily, being part of Kickstarter for the past many years, I was just counting the other day, and I've backed over 20 different movies over the time. And I was talking to one of the gentlemen on the Kickstarter project, and they're like, yeah, you're a producer on one of these movies that you backed. I was like, really? So I looked up on IMDb and like, there I am as a producer back in 2013.
Nice.
So it's pretty neat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just having that monetary also helps to get the project moving forward as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say that, if this is a hobby for you, it's an expensive one.
Oh my God.
And so you need to find a way in order to try to turn it into that, bringing in potentially money back. And we live in a great time where crowdfunding is an option. Money's not a problem. It's the problem.
It's the problem.
But with crowdfunding, it's kind of interesting because not only are you getting funding and buy-in and the crowd of the word crowdfunding is probably more important than the funding part.
Oh yeah.
The crowdfunding is interesting also because it kind of green lights your hypothesis. So you have a idea for a film, a short, or a show. You're putting it out there into the world, giving them a taste of what you want to do, and the world will decide if it's going to green light your project.
Yes.
I believed in this so much that I partnered up with some guys. So I predominantly do fantasy and sci-fi. Not that I don't have other stories, just because I found a niche there. I know how to sell in those arenas. And I partnered up with some other filmmakers, and we created our own distribution platform called the Fantasy Network. So if you go to thefantasy.network, and this is specifically with the creator in mind, with the thought that all of us are creators, all of us have a story to tell, and we just need to be given the opportunity or taught how to do it and collaboration to do that. And then we also needed the means to be able to get it out under a unified banner to reach to the masses, because a film is not made in isolation and it's not meant to be read. A film is only birthed when it's seen. And so it's a visual medium and it needs an audience to give it life. And so don't go out there and try to do something yourself when there's other great joint ventures out there happening around you. And if I would encourage you, if you are leaning into a fantasy or sci-fi, to look us up. We can come alongside and help, not only with a potential crowdfunding opportunity. One of my business partners has raised over $2 million. You've heard that right. On
That's awesome.
Kickstarter. And that is a game changer.
Is that the Aerostorm Network Entertainment?
No, what Aerostorm, that is a company called Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, or they call it Zoe for short. A guy named Ben Dobbins runs that. He is a excellent entrepreneur, excellent filmmaker, great guy, kind of a fan of the people. If you ever go to Gen Con, which is this gaming convention every year, he's like a rock star there. But my other business partner, as you indicated, is a team called Aerostorm Entertainment. Now, they have a TV show called The Outpost that's on the CW right now. And so they're creating these VIP business development opportunities for all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean that could be your listeners, yourself included. If you do fantasy or sci-fi, we consider this a we opportunity.
Yeah.
So you can go on to it. We have apps in, Android and Google and Apple and Roku, and you can go and watch the bulk of our content for free. In fact, we're kind of revamping our model to basically give it all away.
Yeah.
Understanding that those of us who really get it know that you can't do film with $0. And so the monetary element is a way to get a deeper driven subscription where you can get training elements and access to Discord and wikis and some other things that we do creatively are we have worlds or IPs, intellectual property, that is on our sites that we allow people to co-create in. So for instance, I created this world of the Rangers, and I give it freely to allow you to go create in that world legally. Most time when you're doing, let's say you go create a short in the Star Wars realm, even though you're not making money, that's not a deciding factor of whether or not you're in copyright infringement. We shouldn't be, most people say, well, I'm just doing a fan film and I'm not going to sell it. That's not the differentiating factor.
Right.
It's someone else's IP. You're not allowed to do it. Now, traditionally, George Lucas has loved fan films.
Yes.
But Disney owns it now. And they were smart where they didn't isolate that. They actually have a Star Wars competition where they allow you to go in and use certain things under their guidelines. And as long as you follow that, you can do it and put it out there wherever you want with their blessing.
That's pretty amazing.
There's a way to do it. Plus, a lot of times we find that a lot of people are very technical and might not be as creative, or they're great directors or might not be great writers. And so it's putting these teams together. And sometimes we just need a playground. So again, we've created these worlds that you can go and create in. We have another world on the network called Strowlers. It's kind of a what if scenario. What if magic was in modern day, but it was considered illegal? And they have these cops or kind of agents that hunt down these magic users.
Oh, wow.
If that's kind of fun or sounds interesting, you can go and create in that world. And we have had teams in Mongolia. We've had teams in New Zealand, literally all over the world filming in the Strowlers universe. In Ireland, it's been really cool. And it's the community doing this together.
That's just too fantastic, man. I have been, so a little background. So I had been involved in the movie, not really involved, but been passionate about video and production for many, many years. But I didn't, till I got my first DSLR, I didn't really take it or learned too much about, okay, these are the things that you need to look. And what you're all explaining, it all comes down to, or came out of, back in 2014 or 2013, I joined local film clubs in Denver, Colorado, because I had the free time. But then when I moved to the DC, DMV area, I was like, all right, I need to connect with people that are shooting films, that are producing films. And I was lucky enough to participate in a few short films, and just going down that path and learning and applying what I'm learning to more and more things. It's just been an amazing journey so far. And what you're telling me, the collaborative power of people here working in DMV is just blowing my mind. Like, how did I not know about this for the past, the many years I've been living here? But now I think everything happens for a reason. And just recently, I've teamed up with a friend of mine, Chris McPhee, and my friend Diana Riffey on, and he's been running this media shop called Green Beret Media, and he's just focusing on photo shoots and whatnot. But we're bringing the film element and doing more and more commercials. And I've been lucky enough to have taken up more of the video production side and shooting more commercials. And our dream is to have a short film in a film festival eventually. But what you're telling me is that there's more and more people that are open to collaborating and building these things out.
Oh yeah, no, I think we live in a day and age where technology is very comfortable. And so people have gotten really good with collaborating online, and you don't even need to be in the same geographical location. To give an example, we created a epic fantasy adventure called The Rangers. And our lead CGI guy was a guy out of Germany.
Oh, wow.
So it was great because I'd be editing or overseeing editing. We had an editor. We had a team that was working on it. We'd edit segments. We'd put it online. We'd send it to our CGI artist, Stefan, over in Germany. He would, while we were sleeping, he'd get up and be working on the stuff. So by the time we awoke, he had something to show us. Nice. It was a great collaboration.
Wow. That's
so yeah. You don't, life is not meant to be a solo sport. We're meant to be in community. And film is the same way. You're better off co-collaborating with others, and there are people out there that want to collaborate with you.
I love it, Ron. I love it. So walk us a little bit through how you went through the Kickstarter campaign, and I see that you've managed a few of them, and you created a few of them, and they were all pretty successful. So what's the little process of what would somebody need to do if they wanted to create their own campaign for a short film or a feature film?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. In all sincerity, not because I'm trying to just say my website again, but I honestly think that if you're going to do fantasy and sci-fi, you really should reach out to the Fantasy Network. We help people set up Kickstarters. We help people run them. But let me tell you a few things. So Kickstarter has been fantastic and has been a game changer, but it simply has just gotten hard.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
It's just extremely difficult, particularly for film. And why? It's because a lot of people that raised money didn't do what they said they were going to do, or it's taken a lot longer than anticipated. I have fallen prey to that, where I have a feature film that the goal of the campaign was to get it in front of the eyeballs of the studio executives. And although we've had some fantastic meetings, the opportunity is still ongoing. And so, people we live in a want it now time frame. And so, a life cycle of a film, I have found, not only in my own life, but in talking with other filmmakers, that it's a 7 to 9 year average of getting a film made. From the moment you say, hey, I have this cool idea, to you seeing it on the screen is about 7 to 9 years. So imagine that. Right. Wow. I have 23 flushed out ideas, and so it just takes a long time. And when you're putting it out on Kickstarter, people didn't realize how long it was going to take. These are the backers. And so they started, getting upset with the filmmakers of like, it's been 3 months. Why can't we watch this yet? Now, some people got really smart, like Aerostorm Entertainment. What they traditionally do is they use it almost like Kick Finisher, where they're already 80% done with filming, and they're just using this to probably, add some aesthetics or CGI elements they might not have been able to afford, and quite honestly, just to get the fan engagement involved. So they got really smart that way.
Nice.
But there is a way to kind of bring a film opportunity to life. And one of the questions I get often is, film is visual, as we've already said. When you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, people generally want to see something.
Yeah.
80 to 90% of your backers are only going to watch your video. They won't even read your page.
Yeah.
Although you have to have a nice page, your video is what's going to capture everybody. People will watch the video first, and if they like it, then they'll read your page.
Exactly.
However, let's say you're going to do a fantasy. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, should I do a little sizzle film? And that can be a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, if it's really good, of course you want to do a sizzle. Or if you're like Aerostorm and you're just about done anyways, you got all this cool stuff to show, heck yeah, show it. Show as much as you can. That's what people are buying into.
Yeah.
Think of it as kick finisher. However, if you do a sizzle and you're just doing little elements, and just to be direct, if it sucks, if it's no good, you just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
And you'll feel, because you took time out of your weekend, probably filmed an entire weekend, you got a lot of people together, you'll feel obligated to use the footage, even if deep down you know it's not very good. And what you'll hope people will kind of extend grace. And yeah, the people that love you will, but not the traditional backers.
No.
You really have to discern whether or not a sizzle is going to be, if you're going to spend the time on that. I have found with the proper story elements and a passionate, honest, authentic request and a call to action, that can get just as many backers as showing something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first caveat. The second is, try to only give your rewards to be digital rewards. Nobody cares that much about getting a t-shirt. And the margins are just not there. You have to be very careful that you don't give away all the money people are giving you to make the movie away to the reward for filming. So Kickstarter takes about, and they tell you this, they'll take about 7 to 10% due to Kickstarter fees and like credit cards getting turned down. You'll lose about 7 to 10% right out the gate. Then you're going to spend about another 25%, maybe as high as 35% on fulfillment of Kickstarter rewards.
Yeah.
So that already you're up to like 40% on expenses, and you haven't even rolled cameras yet.
Oh my God.
And then you say, hey guys, we're going to do a Blu-ray, and we're going to do a DVD, and we're going to do t-shirts and a coffee mug. Anytime you offer a physical product, you need to understand the cost there. One, if you're going to ship it internationally, a huge expense. Two, you've created a physical product that now you need to go make. If you can keep the items digital, way better. And that's the way people are going to consume it anyways. So a digital download, here's some other digital rewards. Artwork, you could do the poster, an HD copy of the poster. For the Rangers, we had a really cool map made. So you could download this map and use it for your role-playing campaign if you wanted to.
Nice.
You have the score, right? So the music, those are all great digital downloads. Now, I say that with the caveat. Ironically, after I say all that, our number one reward area was signed DVDs.
Oh, wow.
So I'm saying don't do, but we didn't, you don't have to do Blu-ray, or you don't have to do t-shirt. T-shirts are just a lost leader. I mean, they look cool, but no one's really going to be going out. You're not going to hit a tipping point where, 1 million people are wearing your t-shirts and it's spreading the word that much. This is about your fans, and your fans really want you to use the money to go make the movie, not get them a t-shirt. If they were going to go buy a t-shirt, let them meet you at a convention where you have a booth, and you might have some t-shirts then. But I try to stay out of other people's businesses. What I mean by that is, I try not to do t-shirts. Now I have a box of t-shirts in my basement. And so this is lessons learned, right? This is because I've done this stuff.
Exactly.
So try to keep your rewards digital, and your fans do. Your fans want you to. But secondly, try to keep your rewards reasonably priced. Lately I've been seeing digital rewards. People want $35.
Wow.
For a 25-minute short film. This is like a friend of mine, so I want to support him. But that's, I'm not saying it's going to break the bank, but to
Yeah.
get a 25-minute digital copy of which you'll probably put out free later on anyways,
Mm-hmm.
is a hard pill to swallow when I'm
Yeah.
trying to help you out.
Exactly.
So a digital reward of even like a feature should be about what it cost you if you were going to watch it on Amazon or something.
Yeah.
It should be around $10 to $15, no more than $15, and that's probably going to include the other downstream rewards that are underneath it. So you'll probably get the poster, the score, all with it. Because remember this, you're your biggest fan of your IP, but if your IP or your story doesn't become popular, then no one really cares about the poster or the score.
Yeah.
If they love the film, those assets become extremely valuable, but they're not going to love the assets and dislike the film. It's the film above all.
Exactly.
So you have to have a great film. Now, film starts in writing. So I encourage everyone, please, please, please get the script right before you roll cameras. Don't assume that you're the writer, director, producer, actor, and star.
No.
And editor and score. You're going to do it all. You don't need to be a one-man show. You should at least have a few others that know about story craft and screenwriting to read your story, to offer feedback and notes. And I encourage everyone to do a table read if you can. This is just where you bring in actors and they literally read and through auditory means act out, if you will, your script so that you can hear it for the first time, and then ask those people, have a survey ready to go, a little questionnaire, and see if they got lost at certain points or were bored. Or, wouldn't you want to know that before you even roll cameras? So,
oh yeah, exactly.
Those are ways that you can engage the fan base in order to get it right.
Wow.
But you have to start building your fan base before you even start to think about a Kickstarter.
Exactly.
And I know it's a catch-22. I know what I'm asking. And it's why I keep going back to, you don't need to do it alone.
Yeah.
Come to us. The Fantasy Network, and we can help you. We have a ravenous fan base that is raring to go, and we can't feed the beast fast enough. But I guarantee you go out there and try to do something on your own, it's just going to be a hard lift. Now, if you're like, Ron, I'm just going to do it anyways, well, let me encourage you to do a couple things. Try to pay, and I mean pay for, don't just get, a freebie. Pay for some concept art. People love to see concept art. Pay for, maybe do a photo shoot if you're going to do a fantasy or sci-fi project.
Yeah.
Maybe you can highlight, if you have what's called a DP or director of photography, get their reel and highlight their reel. If you have certain things, again, it's a visual medium that you can show your audience what you have. And then don't expect your Kickstarter to cover your entire budget. So if you're trying to do a $50,000 project, I've seen people make the mistake of that's what their goal is. Now, I say that with the caveat that if that's your budget, then hey, that's your budget. And you don't want to undersell and then not deliver like these other people, because that's why people are very suspicious of film Kickstarters lately. Kickstarters do really well with physical products, particularly like board games.
Yeah.
But right now, films are just really difficult. But because Zoe, my buddy Ben, and co-owner of the Fantasy Network, has done so well, is because they deliver, right? And what's great, one of our rewards that we give is a subscription to the Fantasy Network, and so you get access to a bunch of content that you wouldn't be able to do just as an individual.
Exactly.
But those are some things that you can start to think about, and then find ways. Don't think that they are going to be passive.
Nice.
Find ways to engage your fan. Get them involved. Ask about their opinion. Trust me, the word crowd and crowdfunding is more important than the funding. And I know that funding, we just said and all agreed that money's not a problem, it's the problem. But you got to understand, without the fans, you creating a visual film that's meant to be seen, if no one sees it, it doesn't matter about the funding. In fact, it's almost worse because you've wasted it, because now no one's going to see it.
Exactly. No, you're
So,
absolutely right. That's so true. You gotta get the crowd. You gotta get the people involved before you even start something. And a great example of a Kickstarter for a physical product was when I watched and I learned about the Switch Pod, and this was created by Caleb and Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, and he was saying that they advertised before they even launched the Kickstarter campaign. They advertised and talked about this product for about a year, and he's got a network of 130,000 people on his email. You know, both people are in the film area, so as soon as they launched the Kickstarter product, they've been teasing it and to the people. Within the first day, they were able to raise the funds that they needed to get the
of
product.
course. No, see, that's brilliant, and that's great. And that's exactly right. You need to be banging the drum. And there's certain things that you can do. Look at you. I mean, you're doing a podcast. You're doing the very thing. You're building the fan base. You found a need, a desire that you weren't finding outside of this. And so you created it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, podcasts have become the new comic book. Hollywood right now is actually buying stories off podcasts. In fact, if you have a fantasy or sci-fi story that you think you could turn into a podcast, we'd like to hear from you.
Nice.
Because that's a low-hanging fruit that doesn't take a lot, but they're doing these. This isn't like just a regular podcast. These are narrative podcasts with sound effects and music, and there's some really cool ones out there that I've encouraged people to check out that interest you. But that's another way that could be a little bit not as expensive as trying to take on like a feature film.
Nice.
The other thing is that I've realized that, film, it just money spends fast, and films can be expensive. And so people are creating these films, particularly features, and spending just enough money to lose people's money.
Yeah.
And it impact. If you're in the 250,000 range, that's just enough money to have people lose it and to feel that impact.
Yeah.
Before you pull the trigger on that, try to get a seasoned producer on board. And again, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk people through and help people with those things.
Fantastic, man. See, one of the things that I've been working on or trying to get started is a gentleman reached out to me and he's like, hey, I want to do a small pilot episode for a real estate development in the DC area. And I was like, all right, that sounds good. Let's get the script rolling so then we can figure out what it would cost, what it would take all to get that rolling, and what is your final product is going to be and where you want to put it. So we're still trying to get through that scripting process, and he's been busy because he's an actual realtor for the past 14 years. He's got projects going, moving forward constantly. So I'm definitely going to reach out to you. I'm like, hey, Ron, how can we do this? How is this possible?
100%. Nope. Happy to help. And that's exactly the perfect example that we just talked about.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Ron, I have some questions for my guests that I bring on. So Let me go through them. What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
Video games. So I consider myself a storyteller, right? And video games, of course, who doesn't like to play them?
Oh, yeah.
But, video games is something that I find very intriguing, and there's a huge volume of story. It's not that I'm not into games. I wish I had more time to be in games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's not enough hours in the day. So if I had a hobby, and I love all the things that it does, it's story, it's bringing, I love a co-op, you're bringing people together.
Yeah.
You can be anywhere in the world and have your crew, have your tribe that you can go out with. So I wish I had more time to do gaming.
Nice. Well, guess what, man? As your kids get older, you will have the opportunity to play video games with them.
That's a good point. Touche. Nice. I like it.
Cool. All right. What is your favorite movie or television show?
Man, it's hard not to geek out to Lord of the Rings. You could probably tell I'm a fantasy.
Hmm.
So, Amazon spending $1 billion on the new Lord of the Rings TV show.
Wow.
I'm salivating. I just cannot wait to see that. I'm such a geek and love Lord of the Rings so much that some very close friends of mine and I, like brothers, in fact, we went and flew to New Zealand in
Hmm.
2006. I swore I'd never get a tattoo unless it meant something. Here we are in New Zealand at the same place. If you know anything about Lord of the Rings, all the guys
Hmm.
in the fellowship got an Elvish number 9. Well,
Yeah.
my two best friends, we all got the Elvish number 3 at the same location in New Zealand tattoo. So that tells you how much of a geek I am. So I got to
Nice.
go. I got to go Lord of the Rings, and I got to even say I'm just salivating at the Lord of the Rings show that's going to be put on by Amazon.
That's awesome. I did not know that they were putting that show out, a TV show around the Lord of the Rings. That's going to be really cool.
Oh, it's going to be great. I mean, no better studio than do it. Amazon has the money to do
Yeah.
it. They seem to be really treating it with reverence. It's going to be before the films.
Okay.
I think like in the second age. But
So,
hey, there's more stories to be told.
oh my God, way too many.
As much as I love Tolkien,
Hmm.
all of us have a story, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
have a story, I have a story, and there's no
Yeah.
reason to limit the world to just a few epic tales. Let's go tell a few of our own.
Exactly. So when you say it's going to be before the Lord of the Rings, so I'm guessing that's going to be sitting right between the Hobbit trilogy.
I think even before that, I
Oh,
think
really?
it's
Okay.
like, yeah, I think it's in the second age. It might be like 2,000 years like
Mm,
before Lord of the Rings. There's rumors that originally it was going to be a young Aragorn,
okay.
and then there was rumors that it was going to be a young Sauron.
Hmm.
Um, and so they haven't quite. Amazon's done this cool thing where on Twitter they keep
Hmm.
dripping out pieces of the map, and the
Oh,
map keeps changing, and so they're letting people know and guessing what age they're going to release the show in.
nice. I'm going to have to check that out. All right. Next question. Who is your favorite superhero?
Superhero, I gotta go. It's hard not to like, and it's probably the actor too.
Hmm.
Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Nice. Yep.
Wolverine is a fun character. I know he gets a little dark,
Yeah.
but he's got a dark past, and that mystery and story element. As a creative, he's a complex character, and I like
Hmm.
that. So, got to go Wolverine.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Last question, and you did mention this earlier about board games. So, if you were a board game, what would it be?
Ironically, I am working on a board game for our IP, the Rangers, and I
Ooh.
love a good strategy game.
Yeah.
So if I was going to go with one that is in existence already,
Hmm.
if you're familiar with Axis and Allies, it's kind of like Risk on steroids.
Okay.
It's during World War II, the Axis powers versus the Allies. It's five
Yeah.
players. There's money involved and armies. It's a strategy, turn-based strategy game.
Nice.
So yeah, I got to go Axis and Allies. When I was younger, we would play like entire weekends
Wow.
on one game.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool, man. Thank you so much. And where can my audience find you? You mentioned a lot of different websites and networks and whatnot. Where
Yeah,
is the one place?
yeah. No, I'm happy to please do reach out. So the easiest is the Fantasy Network or the Fantasy.network. The Forge Studios is my personally owned production company.
Okay.
You can go there, but you can find me, Ron Newcomb, on LinkedIn,
Okay.
on Facebook. All my contact information should be there, several email addresses, but the easiest is going to be ron@thefantasy.network.
Perfect.
You can send me an email there. And, again, you don't need to do this in isolation. There are
Oh yeah.
people to help you out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ron. This was a really exciting conversation. I've been waiting to speak with you for some time, and we're glad that we're able to get that on the books.
Yeah, same. Me too, man. I know life is hard, right? It's easy to get busy, but sometimes you gotta stop for a minute.
Exactly.
Not just share the roses, but get other people in the boat. And so if you're
Yes.
listening to this, it's time to put foot to action and get in the boat.
That's right. Do it.
Do
awesome.
it.
Ron, thank you so much. Have a great day, man.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.